Hello YouTube, Atlanta to Dallas Aviation here with part 2 of my Delta fleet video, and in part 2 we look at the Airbuses, and again the theme here isn't all my Delta collection but my Delta collection with Onward and Upward livery on it, and that's what we have here. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started here. So first of all, we have 3 A220-100s. I don't remember what order I put them in. I didn't put them in the same order that I have them written down. So I think I put them in this order. All right, so we have a Gemini Jets release on 2019. We also have one for 2018. The release for 2018 had registration November 101 Delta November, but that registration actually does not exist for Delta. I believe 101 Delta Uniform exists, but Delta November does not exist. And the box that it came in branded the aircraft a Bombardier CS-100 rather than an A220-100. So there's a little difference there. So that one was released in 2018. November 102 Delta Uniform is the 2019 release. And then 103 Delta Uniform was released in 2022. And I believe 103 is the one closest to you, right here. And he's missing an aerial, unfortunately. All right, so moving on to our next set of aircraft. These are my two A220-300s. The first one is a 2020 release, which is basically the first one is actually okay, that's the first one. Maybe these weren't put out on a Herpa mold. I know that the at least one of the 220-100s was put out on a Herpa mold. And then, but I think the 220-300s, no, maybe not. I think the 2020 release is actually on a Herpa mold because the nose gear is actually a little bit shorter than the one that is definitely on a Gemini Jets mold, which was released in 2022, which is the one closest to you. So I've got 2 of those. Then we get these 2. And in 1 year I went from having none of these to having 2 of these, and I could have had 3 of them, but my funds dried up and I was not able to get the other 319 or order the other 319 that NG Models put out. But these, one of them is an NG, so 301 November Bravo, which is this one. That one is a 2023 release from NG Models, and then Gemini Jets filed suit shortly thereafter what November 271 November Bravo here. And you may or may not be able to tell the difference in the engine size there, but there is definitely noticeable difference there. But basically from 0 to 2 of them in almost less than a year. Which I can also say the same for these two guys. Alright, so these two guys, again, one is NG models and one is Gemini jets, and they were both 2023 releases. So I went from having none of these to having 2 of them. Actually, I can't remember if the most recent NG release was a 319 or a 320. I think it was a 319. But anyway, so this, just like the 319s, I went from having none of them to having 2 of them in less than a year. Not sure if you can really see the numbers here, but I think the one that's closest to us on the screen, that's the Gemini one. It definitely looks like the engines are a little bit bigger on that one. So that would be the Gemini one. All right. So moving on to the aircraft type. Well, so aircraft type that I have the most of, however, they're split into COs and 2 NEOs. So the NEOs are on the back row, but the COs consist of these 4. Oh, actually these 5. So let me get closer. So that one, and then that one. Let's see, that one, this one, this one, and then the thank you livery, and then this one. All right, so we'll put the thank you here right about the center of the frame here. All right, so these 5, I think they're all COs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, all of them are COs. The first three, which have fairly fat fuselages, those are all the Gemini jet ones. And the first one was put out in 2016, supposedly in the Delta's first A321 box. So it was a special box for Delta's first A321. And then another one, 302 Delta November, was put out in 2018, or at least manufactured in 2018. And then 327 Delta November was put out in 2020. Now the next 2 COs, which start with this thank you one and this one, these were put out at the same time. They were, at the same time. They were put out in 2020, both of them, and these are next generation models. So NG models are these 2. They pretty much arguably have the best A321 mold. So even though the thank you livery was put out by Gemini and Phoenix, I think, maybe even Aero Classics, By the time all these came out, NG Models also put it out, so I got the NG Models version of the thank you livery, and then this was the normal livery that was put out at the same time. Then we go over to the other side here and we hit the Neos. So I actually have these set up where the next generation, the NG model Neo is the first one. It's 502 Delta X-ray, so it's the furthest away from you one. Or is it? You know what? I can't remember, and I don't want to get in the frame trying to look at it. I can't remember if I put 501 up there first or 502. But anyway, one of those is 502 Delta X-ray, and the other one is 501 Delta Alpha, and that's the Panda Models version. By the time I ordered my NG model version of this, I either didn't have enough money to get both of them, or only 502 Delta X-ray was available. So I went ahead and got that one with NG Models, and then 501 Delta Alpha was available through Panda Models, and so I got that one so I could get the set. But both Panda and NG put out both of those in their release sets. So the way things worked out for me, I got one Panda and I got one NG, and they both look really good. So, and we don't really have the issue with Panda printing being a little bit too high. So I guess I lucked out on that one in particular. All right, so moving on, I've got three A330, I have four A330s. However, only two of them are the same. So right there in the middle, this one and this one. The first one, the one furthest away from us, is a 2021 release from NG Models. It's 806 November Whiskey, and unfortunately I was going to look up the different engine types. Now I do have these in a unveiling slash unboxing is what I was calling it at the time when I unboxed these, but unveiling, I think I do tell you what engines are with which A330-300. But anyway, the one from NG has the short hot exhaust, and the one from Gemini, which was released or at least manufactured in 2018, 823 November Whiskey, and that one has the long exhaust. I'll get a close, a long hot section, which is right. Whoa, easy there. Hopefully it'll. No. How about here? Sorry about the focusing, folks. Yeah, you can't quite. Let's see what this. There we go. Okay, so you can see the long exhaust, the long hot exhaust back there. So that's the one that's from Gemini Jets in in 2018. All right. So we'll move out a little bit. So the two that are pretty much the same are these two. So these are the A330 900 Neos. The first one, which is this one, that one was released in 2019, and this is the more recent 2023 release, and it's pretty much the same one, just a different registration. All right, so moving on, everything on a stand is an A350. So you see we have 5 of them? Yeah, we got 5 of them. I think I have 6 of these, and I'll get to that in a minute. But before we go over to A350s, I'd like to remind you, if you're enjoying this particular video, please consider leaving a like and share with your friends. If you are liking multiple videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. And as usual, I love reading your comments, whether you're correcting something that I said, because I'm not always absolutely positive, even though I try to do my research. I'm not always absolutely positive that what I've researched online is correct. So if you're in the know, correct me in the comments, or if you just want to comment about one of the models or all the models or whatever, please consider leaving a comment. But anyway, so I believe I actually have 6 of these, but I only have 5 out, and I will get to that in just a minute. So some of these are going to be covering up each other, so sorry about that. But the one on the far end down there, that one is a 2020 release, November 512 Delta November, and that one is my lone NG model. It is a very good mold, I will have to say, and it may actually be the best one, even though it's not my favorite one. Alright, so we will move on. Another 2020 release is this one. This one is an Aviation 400 release, November 503 Delta November. Now, Aviation 400, I love Aviation 400, and it's my favorite one, but it's not necessarily the best one. Citrus Aviation did a pretty good video on comparing all the different A350 molds that are out there, and one of his comments was that the fuselage might actually be a little bit too short. I'm not really sure if you can really tell. Maybe when I move to the next one and you see the one next to it, you can kind of tell. But yeah, the A350 900 mold from Aviation 400 does seem to be a little bit short and a little bit skinny, actually. So, but because of the printed details, and I love their 3D beacon lights, I'm a fan. Now, of course, none of these Delta A350s from Aviation 400 have the magnetic gear, which is also a step up. So even though there's a little bit of shortcoming on their mold, anything in the future, you know, magnetic gear, being able to display it gear up or gear down, and having the 3D beacons, I think make up for it. And I just love that extra detail, having the 3D beacon lights. So that's why, even though it's not necessarily the best mold, I like Aviation 400 the best for, well, actually just about anything they make. Even their 777 300s, not necessarily the best mold, definitely too skinny, I would say, but I love the extra detail with the 3D beacon lights, and they too will have magnetic gear. So I pretty much, anything that Aviation 400 puts out, even if it's a slightly inferior mold, I like it better than the other ones. So anyway, so that is, I believe that was the first Aviation 400 release. Yeah, so 2020, that's the first Aviation 400 release. Moving to the next one here. This one is Gemini Jets, a 2017 release, 501 Delta November, and probably actually the first A350, Delta A350 release of anyone. So that's why I have that one. And then we move to 502 Delta November from Aviation 400. This one has the Delta Spirit sticker on the nose. All right. And the thing is, I also, well, I'll get to that story in a minute, but so that one's Aviation 400 with the Delta Spirit. And then here's our last one, also Aviation 400. And this one, both the Delta Spirit and this one were 2023 releases, or at least 2023 models, if you will, or, you know, them being made. I think I did receive both of them in 2023, so that should be a legitimate date for those. All right, so the story I have, though, the reason I think I actually have a sixth A350 is I was pretty sure Gemini Jets put out the very first one, 501, what is it, Delta November? Yeah, 501 Delta November. They also put out 502 prior to the Delta Spirit sticker being applied, and I was pretty sure that I had that one because I ordered the 1/200 scale 502 Delta November with the sticker. So I have the 200 scale Gemini, the Gemini 200 brand with the sticker, because I thought I had gotten 502 Delta November without the sticker when Gemini put it out in 400 scale. But I didn't come across it. It's possible it's still in the box. I actually, while making these videos, I actually found that there were several models that were still in their box, even though I have done an unveiling of them. So maybe 502 Delta November pre-sticker is in a box. That's in a box, if you know what I mean. But I was pretty sure I had 502 pre-sticker. So I believe I actually have 6 of these and not just 5 of them. But it's possible that I may just be mistaken. But when Aviation 400 put out 502 Delta November with the sticker, I like Aviation 400 so much that I went ahead and got that one. So I have 5 displayed. I believe I have 6. But anyway, so that takes care of this video, and that also concludes currently my fleet of Onward and Upward livery Delta aircraft. So I hope you really enjoyed those, and until my next video, happy collecting.